Hello my fellow creators and welcome back to Sonic Creations. So today they just randomly dropped this story trailer. Now there's not too much that I want to discuss. I was actually debating whether or not I should even make this video because it was a pretty short teaser and it doesn't reveal too much and there's not too much to talk about. But after I thought about it for a little while, I realized there's some thoughts that I wanted to share. First of all, they didn't necessarily show any cutscenes like I thought they were going to. They just kind of showed these Sonic and the Secret Rings-esque cutscenes that are like hand-drawn and they're not really moving, which looked really nice. I liked the way they drew all the characters. For some reason, when they hand draw modern Sonic, they get his proportions right with like the quills and everything a lot better than the actual model in the game. Same with the CGI. It always just throws me off. I'm like, oh wow, that looks really nice. But some things I noticed, Tails has a gun or some sort of laser weapon, or I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a physics gun from Gary's mod, who knows, but I don't know what that's about, but it just reminded me of the Sonic Adventure 2 days, sort of when like they didn't really know what to do with Tails' gameplay after Sonic Adventure, like how to add more to it, so they just would give him a mech, or they would give him some sort of a gun, or some sort of I shouldn't say gun, because that just reminds me of Shadow the Hedgehog holding like a Colt 1911. I think what I'm thinking of is like some sort of just device that Tails invents and that can shoot energy beams or energy blasts out or something like that. But I don't think we have any information on what that is that Tails is holding. Amy is going to be rocking her hammer, of course, and that's going to be super fun gameplay, especially if they build off what they did in Sonic Adventure, which I actually thought her gameplay was pretty fun in that game. So I'm really excited to see what kinds of things we're going to be doing with her character, because she hasn't been playable since Sonic 06, and she was pretty sluggish in that game, so I just hope she's not just like a slower version of Sonic with a hammer. Then we have Knuckles, who obviously we know what we're going to be doing with him. I mean, his gameplay's been pretty much the same throughout all the games, maybe minus like Black Knight, obviously, if you even want to count that as like a mainline Sonic game, which I guess people do, but I assume it's going to be gliding and climbing and digging and punching and all that stuff, so maybe we'll get to see a return of Maximum Heat Knuckles. If you don't know what Maximum Heat Knuckles is, it's basically like he gets super energized with some sort of chaos energy and it powers him up and makes him twice as strong, twice as fast, and he can like homing attack to enemies and like do a chain, kind of like how Sonic can use his light speed dash and shoot across enemies and stuff like that. But I'm not entirely sure what kinds of abilities they're going to be throwing in, or if we're going to see entirely new abilities, who knows, right? Pretty much it for those. I don't know if we're going to be playing as Sage, so, and if we do, that would be very interesting. Maybe we could take control of some of the enemies that are on the Starfall Islands. I don't know, maybe that would be a cool mechanic. There's so many possibilities that Sage has for some sort of a gameplay, and I don't think we've ever been able to play as a human or human-esque looking character before in the Sonic series, so that would be really interesting, but I don't think they're going to go down that route. I think it's just going to be the main cast. I don't think she's going to be playable, that's just my guess, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if she is. But in terms of the story and what we're seeing from that, which is a little bit more of what interested me, Tails seems to be going through a little bit of an arc, which I like that they turn their past mistakes and forces into a story arc for Tails. Like, starting out in Sonic 2, I guess, just following Sonic around, not really being sure of himself, and then developing over time, and then by adventure he's sort of learned to stand up for himself and have the confidence that he didn't know that he had, right? And to be able to be his own hero instead of relying on Sonic all the time, right? And then we sort of didn't really get to see much of him on his own since that point, and then I think in Adventure 2 he continued the arc from Adventure, but even more so became more of his own character and was able to defeat Eggman without Sonic in that battle on the Space Colony arc. But then like after that it just sort of dwindled down to nothing with his arc, and he just sort of became the side character again, just kind of showing up and saying his techno babble and then leaving, right? And not really having his own arc or having his own story or gameplay or anything like that. So to see that Frontier sort of answers Forces, it kind of makes me feel a little bit less annoyed by Forces, because it's totally a course correct, but because I know they've heard the complaints that people didn't really like Tails' character in Sonic Forces, so I'm guessing that it's just a quick change that they decided like, oh, well, we can use that in the Frontier story, and just maybe Tails feels like a burden. Maybe he feels like he hasn't really been the best that he could be. Maybe he wants to do better. Maybe he needs to fight on his own to overcome. But again, it's a repeat of what already happened like 20 years ago. It's hard for me to see where, like, I don't know, Tails' character arc is so up and down, up and down. Like, I really wish it would just continue to progress and they would give him new problems instead of like recycling his old crap that he already got over, at least in my opinion. But again, I commend them for referencing Forces because of the harsh criticism of that game. They are not afraid to reference it and use that plot to fix his character arc and put him back on the right path. I really appreciate that. And it seems like he's going through some sort of a struggle in the cyberspace. It's like destroying him or corrupting him or something like that. And I guess we're gonna have to see him overcome something on his own again for a change. And Sonic looks like he's just trying to keep everybody together, which is normal for his character. He's kind of late in his arc. I don't really know like if there's much more to develop with him. I mean, for me personally, when I write Sonic in my show, I'm constantly giving him some sort of conflict with another character that maybe he can learn something from them, they can learn something from him, and sort of all the characters can grow. And I feel like if they did something like that, it would be a little bit better. But it's good. The role they're giving him is fitting. And I think that Knuckles is sort of continuing his lifelong rivalry with Sonic and just being like, well, if he can take this island, then I can take it. You know, I can withstand everything he could. You know, we're equals. You know, he's always comparing himself to Sonic, and I love that rivalry that we haven't really gotten to see too much of in the recent years. So that's really cool to see. I like that about his character. Again, they don't really necessarily give us a lot, but it's just enough to get like a little taste of what kind of arc they're going to be going on. I hope this isn't true, but it seems that we're only going to be able to play as the other characters on their island that they're from, that we saved them on. It seems like that's the case, so we'll see, but that's just like the vibe I got, and from what I heard from what the characters were saying, it seems like Knuckles is just going to be on his island, and all the other characters will be on theirs. And then Amy seems like Amy. There's not much I can say about her character, but I hope they do more with her. But yeah, I like all the voice actors we have right now. They sound great. I still really like Roger's new voice for the character, that I guess the voice director or whoever made that final decision to like, we're gonna change Sonic's voice completely from the previous game. It was a little weird to get used to at first. I think with a lot of people that was the case, but I immediately was like on board for it, because not only did the writing get better, but I can take the character a little bit more seriously, and I think it's just fitting for the story that they wanted to tell here. And I think going forward, I hope they keep this, because his character feels more relatable because of the way he sounds, and the DLC looks like it's going to be great. I mean, not only do the stakes seem higher, but also the characters are going to finally be playable again, and I'm just so excited about that. Not only from a story standpoint of them getting a little bit more time in the spotlight, but also the gameplay. I mean, that's obvious. I think for most of us fans is that we miss being able to play as these characters, just the core ones. I mean, let alone all the other more obscure characters. Hopefully we'll get to see in the future, but I mean, this is going to do well. And I think that they've already, for me at least, nailed the core gameplay of Sonic, so they've earned the right to do the other characters, and I think it's going to be fantastic. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I just want to keep this video as short as possible. I did ramble on a little bit about character, but that was sort of mostly of what I wanted to talk about. But I guess to end this video, I'll just give you guys a little bit of an update on Sonic Cybernetics Episode 5. So production is going very well. In the month of September, I plan to get 2 pretty big scenes done. And then in October, there's going to be 2 more scenes. One of them small, one of them pretty big, and then the episode's done. So 5 scenes in total. The first one's already done. That's the one you guys have seen. That's posted right now. You can go watch it. It is the opening scene, the very first one, where we get to see Knuckles and Silver fight some of the metal characters like Metal Knuckles and Tails Doll and Pumpkin Hill, which has been hit by some sort of a blizzard. And boy, that was... It took a lot of work to transform that map into a different climate, but it was so worth it. But yeah, I put a lot of work into that video. I'm really proud of it, so be sure to check it out and let me know what you guys think. But that's all I have to say. I'll see you guys in the next video, creators. Peace out.